400 feet, an upside-down launch, built by one of the most respected coaster manufacturers on Earth. Would you believe this might be the most hated coaster ever? Well, you could easily say it is, and the wild part is, nobody's even ridden it yet. Hell, not even a single piece of track was laid down. But how could people hate a ride that just recently started construction? Let's take a look at the full context behind this story right here on Theme Park Crazy. Today, we're diving into the proposed replacement for Kingda Ka at New Jersey's Six Flags Great Adventure. And although it hasn't been confirmed by the park, you can't deny that it started a major storm in the roller coaster extended universe. In all my years of talking about theme parks, I have never seen a roller coaster receive so much public backlash. If you go on pretty much any video discussing this ride, or even any fan renderings of what it would look like, you'll see a plethora of comments absolutely eviscerating it. Now, outsiders may wonder how coaster enthusiasts could be so angry about a thrilling-looking coaster that, on paper, sounds like it would be right up their alley. On the other hand, many would argue that the backlash isn't due to the coaster itself, but rather the context behind it. And when you peel back all the layers of this onion, you get a story of miscommunication, corporate maneuvering, and the seemingly untimely demise of one of the most iconic coasters in history. For this video, here's the plan. We'll walk through the context of Kingda Ka's legacy, retrace the initial rumor timeline, and discuss the fallout of Six Flags confirming the ride's closure. Then, we'll look at what's very likely being built and why the reception has been so hostile. Before we get started though, I want to give huge credit to the folks who helped surface and document Kingda Ka's closure and the first signs of it. These channels include Toro, Coliwood Studios, Coaster Studios, and more. Their reporting, industry insight, strong sources, and persistent coverage were instrumental in putting this story together. I have linked all of their channels in the description below, as well as their videos on Kingda Ka. With that in mind, let's get this show on track. Back in 2005, Kingda Ka opened as part of Six Flags Great Adventure's push to make the park a true resort destination. Because let's be real here, what better way to draw people to the middle of New Jersey than with a groundbreaking roller coaster? Now, this coaster stood at a whopping 456 feet tall and had a top speed of 128 miles per hour. At the time of its opening, it was the tallest and fastest roller coaster in the world, taking the record from Top Thrill Dragster at Ohio's Cedar Point. That coaster opened just 2 years earlier than Ka, and it had almost the same layout. Still, Ka was the tallest and the fastest. The speed record was held until the opening of Formula Rossa at the United Arab Emirates Ferrari World in 2011. Meanwhile, Ka held the record for the world's tallest operating coaster all the way until its closure in 2024. The layout was relatively simple but insanely thrilling. Starting off with a high-intensity hydraulic launch, guests are sent up an enormous top hat before slowly cresting the top and spiraling down a twisted drop. After a massive camelback hill, the brake run brought the ride to an end. That was it. There were no inversions and no wide variety of airtime moments, but it was super fast, super tall, and had the G-forces to make you look like a cartoon character, especially in the front row. For many, that was all that mattered. For almost 2 decades, this coaster's record stats alone made it a must-visit bucket list attraction for thrill seekers. Coaster enthusiasts genuinely want to seek out the tallest and fastest in the world, and what better way to do that than with the record holder itself? There are stories of people coming from around the world all the way to New Jersey just to ride Kingda Ka. The fact that it broke records made it an ultimate thrill seeker goal. Although people loved and adored Kingda Ka as a record-breaking icon, it quickly developed a reputation for unreliability, which leads us into the known maintenance issues. Throughout its entire run, this ride was infamous for being one of the most unreliable coasters out there. Former ride operators, like Ryan from El Toro, have shared just how often Ka sat closed. Get this, the ride was closed around 40% of the time due to mechanical or weather-related issues. So if you visited the park, there was a good chance it would break down at some point in the day. The biggest problem by far, though, was the hydraulic launch system. Here's how it worked. A set of hydraulic motors would spin a giant cable drum, the cable of which ran along the launch track. When the train entered the launch area, it would hook onto a device known as a catch car, which was connected to the cable. Then, like some kind of turbo-speed fishing reel, the motors would spin the drum, pulling guests forward and up the top hat. It's the same kind of technology used on aircraft carriers, and it sounds fairly simple at first, but dealing with its tantrums was anything but easy. According to Toro, this technology was groundbreaking, but it also meant hundreds of moving parts that had to be perfectly in sync. There were literally thousands of sensors located along the ride's many brake fins. If there was an issue with even just one of them, that would cause the ride to shut down. Not to mention, if a major component failed, they couldn't just order a replacement lickety-split. Many of the hydraulic launch components were sourced from multiple specialized suppliers, not Intamin directly. So even a single replacement part could mean weeks of downtime while a new one was manufactured. Over the years, the unreliability was absolutely noticed by guests. Plenty of visitors, including the aforementioned international ones, would make the trip to Great Adventure only to find Ka closed for the day or longer. For an attraction that was supposed to be the park's top draw, it became a recurring disappointment, and that meant lots of angry visits to guest services. Add in New Jersey's strict weather rules, no rain and an automatic shutdown if winds hit 35 miles per hour at the tower, and it's easy to see why riders often walked away disappointed. I'm sure there are many people out there who waited hours and never got to ride this coaster. According to Toro, Kingda Ka's maintenance cost over $1 million a year, and that's not including the labor costs. And by the way, he also mentioned that Kingda Ka was the only one of the park's coasters that required 24/7 maintenance. This was due to the high amount of maintenance checks required after park closing before the ride could reopen the next day. For Six Flags, keeping Ka for as long as they did meant expensive parts, limited operation, and constant maintenance. Despite all of that, though, it's clear that its status as the tallest coaster on Earth kept it around for nearly 2 decades. That was at least until the historic $8 billion merger between Six Flags and Cedar Fair. After years of drowning in debt and a backfired attempt at increasing guest satisfaction by lowering crowds with higher prices, that didn't really turn out well. Six Flags agreeing to the merger gave them a much-needed financial boost. But for Kingda Ka, this was the beginning of the end. Behind the scenes, the new higher-ups were already making plans to cut costs by closing expensive, unpopular, and/or problematic rides across the chain. More likely than not, they saw how much money and time Kingda Ka was eating up as a red flag on their spreadsheet. As for Kingda Ka's record, that would soon no longer be a factor either. Unfortunately, with the announcement and construction of Falcon's Flight at Saudi Arabia's Six Flags Qiddiya City, that record will soon be out of reach. Really, this coaster is the perfect storm when it comes to breaking the height and speed record. It has a natural cliff to make reaching such a height easier, and it is literally part of a multi-billion-dollar mega project funded by Saudi Arabian officials. Realistically, there is nothing Great Adventure could currently build that comes even close to topping this stat-wise. This was never confirmed to be one of the reasons Kingda Ka closed, but it's certainly plausible. Another plausible but not confirmed reason stems from the fact that with this new merger, officials from Cedar Fair had taken the lead in major decision-making for the Six Flags parks. And that mattered a lot when it came to Kingda Ka. Not only did Cedar Fair have to deal with the unreliable and repeatedly closed accelerator at Knott's Berry Farm, but a tragic accident involving their original Top Thrill dragster coaster led to a guest being permanently brain damaged. Even after it was reimagined as Top Thrill 2, the coaster closed for the season about a week after it opened. Though it has remained relatively well operational since the start of the 2025 season, the initial headaches with Top Thrill 2 could have influenced the decision to tear down Kingda Ka instead of reimagining it. Reportedly, officials from Great Adventure had gotten word of Kingda Ka's closure from the higher-ups, but they were not allowed to announce anything to the public. Park officials supposedly wanted to give Kingda Ka a proper send-off in 2025, letting guests get their last rides then. But since this would have required expensive off-season maintenance, the request was denied by corporate, according to sources. In corporate's eyes, they wanted to tear the ride down and get a replacement built as soon as possible. No longer did they want to deal with the high costs or maintenance headaches. Now keep in mind that while all of these kinds of discussions were happening behind closed doors, the public was completely in the dark. Towards the beginning of autumn 2024 though, the word started to get out. Now I'm not a regular user of forum groups or message boards, so it's possible that the rumors began earlier. With that said, to the best of my knowledge, the awareness all started with a September 2024 video by Toro Ryan called "The Best 25 Roller Coasters at Six Flags Parks." During the segment on Kingda Ka, Ryan said this seemingly out of the blue.
Now, if any Six Flags executives are watching, I understand Kingda Ka is expensive to maintain and operate, and if there were any plans to demolish it, I'd highly recommend reimagining it like this instead.
Now, although Ryan has a good sense of humor, many immediately question why he would make this kind of comment. Sure, some dismissed it as a joke, but Ryan has immense credibility in the coaster community, and deservingly so. He makes amazing videos. He was also a former ride operator at Six Flags and has strong sources inside the amusement industry. If anyone's going to know about Kingda Ka biting the dust, it would be him. For a few days, there was a bit of a buzz from park fans, questioning whether the suggestion of Kingda Ka's death had any validity to it. The next big hint came a few days after Ryan's video, when this leaked screenshot of Six Flags' website was revealed. As shown via the Great Adventure Connoisseurs Facebook group, the screenshot was of Six Flags' newsroom page, which included an article titled "Saying Goodbye to Our Tallest Roller Coaster." Initially, many assumed the page to be fake, photoshopped, or perhaps a prank from a bored intern. Six Flags took down the page almost immediately after it was made online, so nobody was able to archive it in time, aside from the screenshot, of course. Many scoffed at the idea of such a major attraction closing, while others took the rumor seriously and planned their last rides. Meanwhile, several industry-connected enthusiasts tried to get the word out in any way they could, since the park could not. On September 22nd, YouTube channel The Coaster Spot made a community post in which he stated that trusted sources told him that the ride would close after the 2025 season due to maintenance costs. This was likely when the park was still trying to have it open for one more season. In October, Toro Ryan posted a vlog of Great Adventure called "Is Kingda Ka Really Being Removed?", where he discussed the rumors at length. Ryan even said, quote, "There's a lot of rumors that this thing is going bye-bye, and from what I've heard, it's true." About a week later, Sarah Anderson from Coaster Studios also hinted at the rumors being true, saying, "It's not looking good at all. We're looking at a potential closure as early as within like the next couple of weeks." Unfortunately, things soon became a situation where the phrase "don't shoot the messenger" applied. Many people sent any YouTubers who hinted at the rumors being true nasty comments and vehemently denied the ride's closure. As it was later proven, these enthusiasts were trying in earnest to get people to take their last rides while they still could. On the flip side, many did indeed heed their warnings, as on the last day of Kingda Ka's operating season, several coaster enthusiasts showed up to get one more ride on the world's tallest operating coaster. The mood was said to be bittersweet, as by then, the rumors of Ka's closure were widespread across the community, and even local news stations took note of them. Of course, Six Flags did not confirm or deny the rumors while the coaster was still operating, at least until November 14th. This was just 4 days after the ride was normally scheduled to close for the season. That day, the cat was officially out of the bag. Six Flags announced Kingda Ka's closure, as well as the demise of 2 other attractions, the Twister ride and the parachutes. Interestingly enough, the announcement was strangely worded. Six Flags said of Ka, the ride's retirement, in addition to the removal of the Twister and parachutes, makes way for a new signature attraction, a multi-record-breaking launch coaster to debut in 2026. I, like a few others, thought that because they used the word retired instead of removed, like with the other 2 attractions, the park meant that Kingda Ka would be reimagined as the launch coaster they mentioned. This led to what I think is my most embarrassing moment running this channel. I actually made a video declaring that Kingda Ka would not be torn down based on the wording in the announcement alone. I wanted to get the news out as soon as possible and give my take on it, as I don't really do breaking news stories a lot. And well, this is why. While I was rushing out this video, Ryan had contacted Six Flags officials to clarify what they meant by the statement. And at this point, they confirmed the ride would be completely demolished and not reimagined. I ended up taking down my video about 10 minutes after posting it, but you can still watch it on my Patreon if you want to laugh at it in hindsight, link in the description. Definitely a learning experience for sure, and big apologies to anyone who got excited by the thought of Kingda Ka not being torn down. Once the demolition was confirmed, the general reaction was almost unanimous: anger. Fans felt blindsided. For years, Kingda Ka was marketed as the reason to visit Great Adventure, the ultimate attraction of its lineup, the tallest and fastest coaster in America and the tallest in the world. People came from around the world to ride it, and children marveled at it in world record books for years. Now, in a single press release, it was given a standard boilerplate send-off instead of the one many people felt it deserved. Six Flags just quietly let the operating season end without saying a word, and then only after the fact dropped the announcement. To many, it just felt cold and insulting. In an interview with Theme Park Tribune, Great Adventure spokesperson Mark Villari Jr. responded to the criticism. Keep in mind, this decision was not made by Great Adventure officials, but by Six Flags higher-ups. According to the article, when Theme Park Tribune asked why the closure was announced only after Kingda Ka had stopped operating, robbing many coaster fans of the knowledge to say a proper goodbye, Villari Jr. responded, "Since the finalization of the merger between Six Flags and Cedar Fair, we've been moving quickly to solidify our future plans. Our focus remains on enhancing the guest experience, and to stay on track for a 2026 opening, we had to make quick decisions to begin construction." By and large, fans didn't buy it. Commenters pointed out that the park had likely known for months and could have given at least a couple weeks' notice. A big theme in the responses was missed opportunity. People imagined how a farewell could have been turned into an event, a real chance for locals who grew up with the ride to get one last shot at checking it out. Instead, people felt cheated at one of the most iconic coasters supposedly being quietly erased. People pointed out that other parks had given their coasters proper send-offs, but with Kingda Ka, there was no memorabilia, no special merchandise, and no formal last ride celebration for a coaster that many feel deserved it. There were also broader reflections. Some people knew the ride was on borrowed time and accepted that it had to close. After all, it had repeated maintenance issues, and it was never going to age well. Others tied the decision to Cedar Fair's caution after the dragster incident, or to the economics of keeping Kingda Ka alive for another year. But through it all, the main sentiment was anger and some sadness. Many people had Kingda Ka on their bucket list and never got the chance to ride. For them, the lack of notice was bad PR that robbed them of an experience they waited years for. The park never elaborated further on the lack of a send-off, but as many see it, there are two possible explanations: the pragmatic and the cynical. The pragmatic reasoning is that the park didn't want to risk big crowds coming to the park to ride an unreliable coaster only to find it closed. Perhaps they didn't want bigger crowds than usual to overwhelm the aging ride, or perhaps they didn't want to deal with the embarrassment of the ride being broken down on closing night and having a big ceremony for nothing. Then there's the cynical explanation. Some have suggested the park didn't want to turn people off purchasing or renewing season passes during peak season. They also noted that the company's third quarter earnings call was just days before they announced the coaster's closure. So some say Six Flags didn't want to scare investors or hurt their stocks when they were fresh into a new merger. They didn't want to be like, "Hey guys, we're closing our tallest roller coaster, invest in us." There's no way to prove if either of these are true, so feel free to comment what you think below. And now, that brings us into the proposed replacement. Around the same time that the rumors started buzzing, Kings Island sent out a survey listing potential new additions to the park, one of which was a launch spinning coaster, clearly resembling the extreme spinning coaster model from Mock Rides. The coaster launches riders out of the station and heads straight into an enormous zero-G stall. During this stall, the train is launched upside down and sent back downwards right side up. Finally, the train ascends a large tower, then listed on the survey as being 200 feet. After encircling the tower and taking in the view, including one car looking down via an overbanked turn, the train goes back down in reverse, doing the whole layout again. Although the initial Kings Island survey listed the coaster as being 200 feet, a later inclusion in a Great Adventure survey listed it as being 400 feet. Further backing this post up are the footers and progress in Coliwood Studios' overhead footage of the construction site. The way things are looking do indeed hint at the tower coaster. Toro even said at one point that this new coaster is pretty much what we all think it's going to be. So why would the park consider building this in Kingda Ka's place? Well, for one thing, let's be honest, mock rides is not cheap. The phrase, "you get what you pay for," applies here, as the company is highly lauded for producing some of the most high quality and, more importantly, reliable rides in the coaster market. Sure, the first few months of Hyperia at England's Thorpe Park were problematic, but that's the exception with mock and not the norm. Going with mock is a much safer option in keeping the coaster reliable, and increased uptime also means lower maintenance costs and better guest satisfaction. As for the cost, Time Traveler at Silver Dollar City, a mock extreme spinning coaster, cost $26 million, or around $33 million when adjusted for inflation. Now, Time Traveler is only a quarter a height of this proposed Ka replacement, and it doesn't have an upside-down launch. Plus, who knows what other costs there will be by building in New Jersey. It's very possible that the final price tag could be around or slightly lower than Time Traveler. Perhaps they could have built a shorter coaster with a full circuit layout. However, it's pretty clear that Six Flags wanted a headline-making record breaker to draw in the crowds while not being crushed in debt or dealing with regular downtime. This coaster concept has certainly never been seen before, but despite its relative uniqueness, park fans were furious at the idea of it. Once the idea made its rounds, and once fan-made renderings of the concept started going around, the response was brutal. For some, the very idea of this coaster replacing Kingda Ka was a slap in the face hard enough to alter the Earth's rotation. The biggest criticism of the ride itself was by far the shuttle layout. Great Adventure had just recently opened Flash Vertical Velocity, a shuttle coaster by Dutch manufacturer Vekoma. While it is considered to be a very good ride, fans were quick to point out that shuttle coasters, including Flash, often inherently struggle with capacity. On most shuttle coasters, only one train can operate at a time, meaning long lines and slower dispatches. Though to be fair, a recent video by Toro did hint at the park adding something like a turntable loading station to increase capacity, so the Ka replacement has better throughput. Another common criticism was that, for a ride replacing the world's tallest coaster, this just wasn't epic enough. A lot of people wanted a full circuit, something expansive like a B&M Giga or a ground-up RMC. Some comments suggested a newer style Intamin coaster like Toutatis at Francis Park Asterix. Instead, what they saw looked gimmicky, a simple way to break the height and speed records on a spinning coaster and put something tall where Ka used to be. Most notably, some were so frustrated that they said they'd never visit the park again if this was the final design. They argued that Great Adventure didn't need a quirky spinning coaster with a few unique elements. It needed a true successor to Kingda Ka, something that would inspire awe the way Ka did. Now, all of that said, not everyone hated it. A handful of commenters admitted the concept looked pretty cool, even if it wasn't what they would have chosen. Some liked the idea of launching upside down and lingering 400 feet in the air in an outward bank track segment. Others argue that when you put aside its iconography, Kingda Ka itself was also a one-trick pony. It was arguably built simply to break the height and speed record with a design that was almost exactly like Top Thrill dragsters. They say that at least this new ride would offer a different kind of intensity. Ultimately, though, the general consensus seems to be this: people would have no problem with this coaster if it wasn't meant to replace Kingda Ka. The lack of a proper farewell for Kingda Ka left a sour taste in people's mouths. Plus, the shuttle coaster layout gives people a feeling that this will be a lesser coaster, and some feel it will be doomed to carry a reputation it will never escape from. For these reasons, it's safe to call this unfinished, unridden attraction the most hated roller coaster of all time. At least with Vekoma SLCs, people make jokes about its roughness. But with this coaster, the hostility is palpable. But what do you think? Do you think the outrage is fair, or do you think it's over the top? But wait, there's one more thing to bring up. Some enthusiasts are already saying that this may not actually be intended to replace Kingda Ka after all. Plot twist, I know. In fact, a CoasterNet.com discussion recently went into this, and I will link it below. Some have been quick to point out that none of the new footers are within Kingda Ka's original plot. Instead, construction begins near Green Lantern's old footprint and stretches out along the parking lot. The entire area is said to be rethemed as part of the park's boardwalk section. That has led to speculation that Ka's removal and this new project are separate storylines. Ka's land may be left empty for now, while the new shuttle-style coaster will serve as a holdover attraction. As CoasterNet suggested, maybe the park is planning a 1-2 punch of investments. A flashy gimmick ride to grab headlines paired with a future expansion on Ka's former site. Whether that strategy rebuilds trust or just fuels more frustration remains to be seen. Unfortunately, the replacement has been delayed to 2027, so this is all I have to say for now. But when the official announcement happens, don't be surprised to see a full video on Kingda Ka's history some point thereafter. Whatever you think, feel free to comment down below. Now it's time for the comment shoutout program. This is where I take 5 random comments from my previous video and read them out. These comments come from my video on the top 30 best rated coasters in the world. Cranny SideQuest says, I've been on a grand total of 2 of these, LOL Colossus, which I rode as a kid way before the updated version, and Velocicoaster. Definitely need to get more of them. Daredevil Gaming Official says, I've been on 9 of these. They're all amazing rides. Great vid. Thank you, Daredevil. Elevator Alarm Coaster and Arc 1214 says, request, top 30 best rated dark rides in the world. TubeShot says, love Steel Vengeance. And Reed Space 8267 says, Pantheon at Busch Gardens Williamsburg is down at number 40. Tutatis is laughing at it. If you want to see your words in my next video, leave a comment down below and it may be selected. Please note though that inflammatory or spam comments will not be read. Thank you all so much, and if you want to support me on Patreon, you can do so once again at the link in the description. Thanks for watching everyone. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on social media on Instagram and Facebook, or you can check out my website at themeparkcrazy.com. And I'm on TikTok. This is Theme Park Crazy, and I'll see you all next time.